Hey guys, good morning, good morning, good morning, from wherever you are in the world. Okay, so again, my camera is upside down, technical matters, but I scroll up. So thanks for tuning in. This is part two of Financial Blackness. So, as I said earlier, in the previous episode, there were a few things, well, quite a number of things that different people had sort of thrown over to me to say, please talk about this, or we need as a people to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. So, there's three specific things that I, in this episode, would like to touch on. The one is, and this was from a colleague of mine, she said, our propensity to debt as I say people, working black people in general, but in this one I'm specifically talking to black professionals, black working people, right? The second one was black tax and how it prolongs the journey ahead of us towards achieving some kind of financial stability and then financial freedom. And by the way, I am not a finance expert at all. So the terms I'm using here are things that I have read, things I have heard, common terms that I used, and things that other people have said. And then the third point that I'd like to touch on is basically, what tools do we have, or what tools should we have to help us navigate finances, the financial world, debt, tax, savings, investment, portfolios, etc. Right? So those are the three things. So let's start at the top with them. So the first one again was our propensity to debt as black people, black working people, black professionals. And if we recall from the previous episode, right, we talked about this idea of, needing to show that we are successful as a black people, needing to show that you are progressing, needing to show that all of the things that you have worked for and all of the things that generations before you have worked for are amounting to something, right? So it touches on this, I guess, I think the trap that as a people we've fallen into, which is you need to have superficially demonstrable success, if I can put it that way, right? So the classic example, and this is one that a friend of mine also shared with me, is that, in her case specifically, her and her husband, they were driving the same car for 10 years, and not a fancy car. And every year, we all go home every year, or at least we try to. They'll get home and they would be getting looks from the family like, it's year 5, it's the same car, and you're in Big Joburg. What are you doing? Year 7, year 8, even from their parents, because they weren't giving the signs of success which are expected from those who make it to the big cities. At that time, they were consolidating their debt. I think they were busy, they had a really nice house. I think they had 2 properties, and a whole bunch of other financial successes which are legit, as in, probably had an emergency fund, had a portfolio that was growing either for their children's education, like serious things that in 30 and 40 years time meant that they weren't having to stress about working super hard. But the success that their family, immediate family even, could only ever see would be their cars, maybe their clothes, but their cars is you see it coming through, and it puts a lot of pressure. It's not just a side joke like, oh, when are you going to change your car? It's a lot of pressure. People treat you differently, and this is the lived experience of my friend, so it's not a theoretical thing. So I think in terms of that propensity to debt, that's where it comes from. And I'm not, there's of course the notion of people being financially reckless, not really knowing how to control themselves. There's the debt trap in and of itself, that credit cards, for example, store credit, those are all things that are used to really capture people financially. But those things aside, just the need to demonstrate that, no man, I'm moving, things are getting better, right? Now, if we think as a people, right, the challenge we have is, and if I make the example of South Africa specifically, but I think all of colonized Africa, is there was a struggle to emancipate black people from a system that othered and lowered them. And so now when we have the economic opportunity, we need to show it, but we're needing to show it in the wrong way. And the easiest way to get material things is through debt, because you don't have liquidity, you don't have generational liquidity, which, you can buy an apartment, you can buy a car. And I'm not even going to get into the rates that banks give black people for cars and all of that. That's a whole other topic. So I think that propensity comes from the need to demonstrate. And so for me, if that is the case, and everyone must look inside and say, why must the Gucci belt be underneath the shirt and shirt? If that's the case, I think the starting point is to recognize that, contend with it, and then say, what satisfies me to show me that I am progressing? And then ultimately, what is going to be the thing that will have been success? Is it have paid off a house? Someone's goal can be, I want to pay off a house that I live in, and let that be the legacy for my kids, right? Or I want to pay off this car and have this extra X amount per month available to just live. Define that for yourself in a way that has like some financial savviness to it, which is what's going to make your financial life in the future a little bit better, and you're not having to work until you're 60, 70, 80. Okay, so let me leave that one there. Do let me know what you think. The second one is around black tax. Now, the black tax one is very emotional. And some people don't even like the term black tax. It's like, it's not tax, it's giving back. We're not arguing about that. The concept of having to take what you earn and share it with others within your immediate family, because you are ahead, or you are one of the ones who are ahead, or one of the ones who are able to. That concept means when you earn X amount, you have X minus Y to work with. So if you're comparing yourself with another economic player, say even another black person who, is the only child of an only child, an only child. There's no second close cousins, nothing. It's just you and, other people of the same surname, but, so they're starting with X, you're starting with X minus Y. There's a gap which just continues, right? If you're both saving, say, A% of your money, you are saving A of X minus Y, and they're saving A of X. Their savings are going to grow faster, and they're going to be subject to compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. That's a technical, practical fact. That's just how money works. If you're saving that same proportion of your X, it's going to grow faster, right? But it's not just the technicality of, how much can I save, how much can I not save, right? It's also then the burden of having to negotiate yourself. How much do I give to family? How much do I help? Where don't I help? Where do I say no? What do I say no to? Who do I say no to? When do I say no? Versus what is it okay for me to be ambitious about, right? If I make just an example, if your goal is to pay off your car fast, because that's the small amount of debt, there's a concept that I really recommend people reading on, engaging on, which is called I think it's debt snowballing, right? Basically, if you have three debts, they're all 100 rand. You pay off the 100 rand, you pay them off equally. When the smallest of them gets paid off, that 100 rand you put into the second smallest one, and now you're paying 200 rand on that second one, which gets paid off faster. And you take that 200 rand and you shove it into the third one, and you're paying 300 rand on that third one, and it goes away faster. So you snowball the amounts that you are paying, and it's such a simple concept, but it's so powerful in terms of killing your debt. So debt snowballing, read about it. But basically say, okay, your decision is I want to pay off my car because that's the smallest of the debts that I'm at right now, so that I can either go and accelerate my bond after that, or I'll have money to start a children's savings account. But it's a mature, well thought out, reasonable financial decision that you want to make. So say your car is 5,000 rand a month, and you decide, okay, cool, I'm going to spend 7,000 rand on this car so that it goes from being paid off in, say 4 years time to 2.5 years time, whatever the maths is. So now you are having to lock away 2,000 rand extra, and something happens to someone in your family, and say for the next 6 months they are needing financial support. It's a conundrum. It's difficult, because now do you take back that 2,000 rand that you were using to fast track your car repayment to support that person? Or do you say, look, my X of amount of money that I have is now actually X minus Y for whatever reasons? And the question is, do you have to explain this to people or not, right? But it's now X minus Y. When I've done my X minus Y, this is how much I have left to assist. So whereas last year when we talked, and you needed help, I could easily come through with 2,000 rand for 2 or 3 months at a time. Right now, I actually cannot. What I can do is I can put forward 800 rand. So that's what I can do. You would think that's a normal conversation because it's your money, but we know how tough it is, right? You people can have questions like, well, what are you doing with your money? Like, what do you mean you live in 2196? What do you mean you can't spare 2,000 rand a month? Some malume is desperate, or Rakhadi is very sick, or Manino Oshoga 2, so 1 2 3 4. That's a very tough thing, right? But I think part of the journey that the individual and the collective has to take is around what are we building towards, and what is the plan, and what are those steps towards that plan. If it is clear that to pay off my car so that I can have more liquidity in 2 years' time means I need to spend an extra 1,000 or this extra 2,000 rand a month now, so that I am more liquid. And if I am more liquid, it means I'm more able to provide that support to the family. As a person, even if you never have to explain it, and I really don't think we should have to explain our finances to other people, not even our parents, to be honest. But if that's what you need to be comfortable in the decision you're making, I think it really helps when it's clear and written down. You've done the numbers, you've seen, okay, by January 2026, I'll be in this position, I'll have this gap, and when I have that gap, I'm going to take half of that extra cash, put it into and increase savings, and I'm going to take this 200, this other half, and I'm actually going to put it into a savings account. That's my family emergency account. Whenever they come through, if there's an issue, if there's a musibeti, even if there's gifts, you want to gift somebody, their child has passed matric, and here's a laptop. Put that and make that a financial decision that you are making, and it unburdens you, right? So those are some thoughts. Again, let me know what you think. So that this video is not incredibly long, let me jump to the third one, which is, excuse me, some tea. The third one is the tools we need. Now, I'm not going to go long into this one, but the first is we need to equip ourselves so that we can also equip our family and friends, and then ultimately we can equip society. Again, the we that I'm talking about is us as a collective black people. The concept of unit trusts. I'm now 35 years old. The concept of unit trusts is now, I don't even know if I really know what unit trusts are, but I'm comfortable with sort of this notion of unit trust and equities, shares, share prices. It's 5 years, 7 years max that I've been familiar with it and comfortable with. Nahana, I've been working for, at least over 10 years, 11 years. And only now am I comfortable with this notion. A very simple thing. We're not talking derivatives. It's talking about a stock in a listed company and knowing and practicing the act of, I can take 100 Rand and I can buy a portion of a stock or a full stock depending on the price of it. And when that stock goes up in value, my 100 Rand goes up in value. When that stock declares a dividend of X amount per stock, I can also get that dividend. That's a very simple thing. We have a JSE, which is one of the biggest stock exchanges in the world. It's not that difficult to access it, and you don't need a lot of money. And there are now tools, and I will say this, and I'm not sponsored by Easy Equities. If they want to sponsor me, that's great, but I'm not a financial advisor, so cool. Just call me the common advocate. Right? There's platforms like Easy Equities. I will share Easy Equities link to anybody who even hints at I'm just like, here's the link, put in 100 Rand, search for companies you like, that you would like to own, buy stocks, see what happens. The rest you literally see what happens, right? There are books. One that, and I'm going to do a shout out, a friend of mine, Disetso Khalani, recommended this to me, I think now 5 years ago or so, called How to Become Your Own Financial Advisor, by a South African guy. I think his first name is Warren Ingram or something like that. How to Become Your Own Financial Advisor. Best financial information, insight, guide, really book I have ever read. Read simple, not long, normal concepts, beautifully demonstrated in the South African context. Now, don't be touched when they make examples of South Africans who, white people specifically, who can save, 7,000 Rand a month in their first job. We've talked about your X and somebody's X minus Y, okay? Or your X minus Y versus somebody's X. The concept remains the time value of money, compound interest, the discipline, budgeting, living below your means, tax-free savings accounts. Do you know that every single year, I think there's a cap of either 33,000 or 36,000 of money you can chuck into a tax-free savings account? Money that when you earn, you don't get taxed on. And over your lifetime, I think the cap is about 500,000 Rand. Might not seem like a lot of money for a lot of high earning professionals, but the concept remains that you could save that amount in tax deductible amounts every single year. Are we using it? You and your wife using it? You're putting it down to your children once they start working and have a tax number? And those things add up, right? Other tools, simple ones, budgets. And I know one of my friends was like, you can't have monthly budgets, you must have a yearly budget, whatever type works for you. But the concept of a budget is basically knowing exactly where your money is supposed to go on a periodic basis, monthly, bi-monthly, annually, whatever. Because then it's discipline. It's like with diets, right? We are trying to lose weight, or we are trying to gain muscle, or we are trying to maintain our weight. When you order that burger, okay, I'm ordering a burger, fine, that's what I'm doing. But am I having it with chips, or am I having it with salad? That act of thinking about it and the discipline, because you know what you're trying to do, is for me what a budget does, right? So I know I have groceries, I need to spend 1,000 Rand on groceries. I have 250 Rand on petrol, and I have 300 Rand, let's say, to take out. Last week I spent 100 Rand. This week I spent another 100 Rand. Next week I only have 100 Rand for eating out, right? But if I want to eat out again the other week, or I want to eat out for 200 Rand next week, then I should know what? Well, the budget I have for buying clothes, I'm going to take away from that. That's totally fine. If you're going to take away from another piece to add up somewhere else, that's fine. But that means you are in control of where these monies are going and coming from, so that you don't get to the end of the month and now you are, no, I'm fasting this week. I'm fasting, I'm just drinking water and I'm having bread, just a bit of a detox. No, you're not detoxing, you detox your account, right? So for me, that's what tools like budgeting do, and then revising them, right? So without going into a laundry list of things, there are available tools. I've mentioned some of the books, the Easy Equities platform. There is an entity, there's a company called Life Check. Again, not an ambassador, not affiliated, I'd love to be, which basically sits with you, whether you're a single individual or you are in a relationship or you are married, whatever the situation is, but not situationships. Sit with you and go through your income, go through your debt, go through your taxes, go through your budget, and then go through what do you want to achieve. What do you want to do? We used it. KK and I used it when we said we're going to have kids and we want to buy a house. And they said, okay, go through our budget. And they said, right, here you need to save this amount. This one, the car you want, you can't have that car. You need to, go lower or stay where you are. Yeah, this once a year overseas thing, just put it there in the to-do list. And then to get that house, you need to spend this amount, and this is where it can come from, or you can't achieve that house. So you have an objective third-party expert who looks at it and brings it to reality and brings it to life. So if you do anything, okay, get Easy Equities, read that book, How to Become Your Own Financial Advisor, and set an appointment with the Life Check guys, or a similar service. If you know of another service that does personalized budgeting and they have courses, and you have a consultant who calls you and you set the budget, and 6 months later they call you again and they see how you're doing, find them, set up an appointment, do it. We're doing it not just for you as an individual, in which you should, because you need to be comfortable in it. You need to be able to talk about these things, not theoretical. You mustn't have an example about compound interest as a theoretical thing. It needs to be, when I started at 30, this is what happened, and then at 35 or at 45, that thing, this is how it had grown. You need to have personal experiences so that our children, our family and friends can hear about these things from kaletlalo, in a good way, and and that is far more powerful than saying, okay, read this book, right? I've read it, it was great, it's inspirational, read it as well, but I read it, this is what I did, this small change that I did, and this is what it unlocked. And then I started adding more and more things over time, and now I'm in the position that I am. I think it's so important to have that lived reality, to create a lived reality for us as Black people, which we can share and mold the lived realities of those that come after us. I think I'm going to stop there. And again, as always, please, like, share, subscribe, drop your comments, and if you see this on my statuses, etc., reach out, give me your views. I'm always keen to learn more and hear other people's views and journeys as well.